All right, welcome back, guys. Today we are going to be talking about Murfreesboro in Tennessee, and today our guest is Robert Biehn. Robert, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely, man. I am so excited to be here.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so excited too. Let's talk a little bit about your journey. How, like, are you originally from Tennessee, and any other places you've lived?
I've lived in quite a few places. I actually, even fun fact, had a permanent residency card in Canada, but I am not originally from Tennessee. I've been here 7 or 8 years now total.
And where are you originally from?
Southern California.
Let's go. Yes, I'm here. I'm there now. I'm here now, I should say. So awesome, awesome. So this will be interesting to chat about. So you said you moved about 7 years ago to the area.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago, I moved from LA, Orange County more specifically, and moved to Tennessee. Packed up everything, drove my car across the state, and made this home.
That's great. What's like for the area in like in Tennessee? So you guys are pretty close to Nashville, right?
Very close to Nashville. Yeah,
Awesome. Is that a
very
frequent?
close.
That's like a frequent kind of a place you visit, or
Yeah. I mean, Nashville's not far away. I particularly wanted to be close to Nashville, but not like downtown. Just like anybody who lives in LA or any other big city, if you can, you're like, well, I want to be close enough to get where I need to go, but I don't want to have to pay the prices and deal with the traffic of actually living in the heart of it all. So yeah, we're very close to Nashville, and I think I'm like 30, 40 minutes from the international airport.
okay,
Yeah, right around
awesome.
there, depending on time of day.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about so like the weather is obviously completely different from LA to Nashville. Tell us,
Yeah.
give us the tea. What's up?
How's the weather? yeah, so it's kind of like it's almost funny because it's like super dry in California, and then it's like I swear it's like the more you keep going this way, it just gets more humid until you hit Florida. And so Tennessee is not nearly as bad with humidity as Florida, but it absolutely gets humid here. Definitely no dry heat here for the most part. Random storms, rain, not too much hail. We really don't get hail that often, just a lot of rain, plenty of flooding, good and bad flooding. Good flooding, just that doesn't cause any problems and fills streams, and then other flooding or you hope you're in the right place.
Oh, okay. What about tornadoes and stuff like that? That's
We absolutely get tornadoes. They're more predominant on West Tennessee. More often than not, you see them in West Tennessee, where that's most of the damage, the tornado country, if you will. You will get a couple that come through Middle Tennessee and occasionally East Tennessee, but mostly it's West Tennessee. But with that being said, Murfreesboro, I think it was like 10 years ago, had a tornado that came right down the city. A couple years ago, Nashville got hit. So we're definitely not immune, just like earthquakes in California. Most people are fine. Most people will never be severely impacted by an earthquake. And yet, there are those who are the unlucky ones that end up with the tough situation.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the rundown of it.
Got it. Got it. A favorite season for you in the area?
I spend like 90% of my time indoors,
So
just
the
working or
air conditioning.
church or teaching or stuff
Yeah.
like that. So favorite season, like I do like winter. And even though I'm not huge on holidays, I love the look and feel of Christmas.
Hmm.
Love the look and feel of Christmas lights, decorations, the smells. Like I think Christmas is pretty awesome, which is obviously winter time. So winter, Christmas, I'd say that's kind of my more favorite times.
All right. All right. I was gonna say you like the season of air conditioning.
yeah,
That's it's year round.
yeah, yeah. Very thankful to have air conditioning.
All right, cool. Let's dive into. So earlier you mentioned not living like in the heart of Nashville, so Murfreesboro is just a little outside. What is the cost of living for buying houses, renting houses around in the Murfreesboro area? Like kind of like what's like the range? I guess you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, so if you go to apartments and then if you go to houses, those are two separate things. So apartment, most recently, 2 beds, 1 bath, considered a fair price was right around 1,200. month, obviously. And again, that can range. I know people who are paying 1,800, but then there might be a nicer place, or it might be even within Murfreesboro, right? There's downtown and then there's the outside, right? Any city has that. So it would range. I would say you're not going to see much below 1,000 anymore. I think those days are gone unless you're just very, very fortunate. And I would say you're going to see a lot more towards the 16, 1,800 type of range going forward for rentals. Obviously, if you start renting houses, there's usually an additional, right? You're renting a house, you're not small apartment. So some of the houses you might start seeing 2,000, but livable wages, people have to be able to afford these, or else if people can't afford them, nobody's there to rent them. So it's definitely nothing like what you would see in New York or even LA or stuff like that, but it is getting up there for sure. And I think that's kind of the power of home ownership, is that you're going to spend the money anyway. If you can, might as well have that money count for something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To eventually acquire your own place.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. For the lot sizes for houses, what does that look like in the area?
Like what you would expect in most places, usually under a quarter of an acre in the subdivisions. But then you're buying houses that aren't typically in newer subdivisions. You might get half an acre, an acre. I mean, I know someone who has 6 acres and they're in Murfreesboro and they have 6 acres. So you're never going to see that in LA.
Yeah.
You just won't. I mean, even if someone had it, so much time has passed that eventually they got bought out or subdivided. Yeah. So right now we still have families that own some of these homes and haven't given up. I live in a subdivision. We're less than a quarter acre, right? But when we go out a quarter of a mile away from me, there's all these quarter acre houses. And then there's this one house that is on an acre and a half. So that's clearly, I'm sure the builder tried to buy them out or get them to subdivide, but they wanted their land. They didn't sell it. So you can find gems like that inside Murfreesboro still, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And so so from when you first moved to now, 7 years later, have you noticed an increase in population?
Absolutely. Depending on what chart, because everybody's charts are different, but
yeah,
absolutely. Tennessee and especially Nashville is one of the most popular places to move to. It has some of the highest migration rates from New York, Chicago, but even Indiana. There's a lot more jobs here. We've got a lot of headquarters from other states that have been moved here. There's a lot happening in Tennessee. Most people think of Tennessee as just country and some bars on Broadway where people are playing live music, but there's actually a lot of headquarters here. There's Nissan. There's
okay, so the economy. Let's talk about the local economy. What? Okay, Nissan. You're mentioning headquarters. Dive into this.
Nissan headquarters and plants, and Amazon has warehouses, but they also have one of their, I don't know what they call it, but it's their executive headquarters, right? Where it's you don't go to that, but they're higher paying jobs here in Nashville. We've got Oracle just spent I think it was $1 billion or something like that to move here. We've got a huge gun manufacturer who's about to build a massive, if you call it a plant, I don't know if you call metal working stuff plants or not. I don't know, but you've got a huge
let us know in the comments, guys.
Yeah, what do you call it?
Facility.
Yeah, when do you use plant, warehouse, facility, manufacturing? What? I don't know which one's right for which type of product, but yeah, we've got a lot going. I mean, there's a Nissan, I think they call it a plant, Nissan plant, not far from here, and I think it employs 30,000 people, which is just insane if you think about it, because Murfreesboro's population is, I think, about 160 or 180,000. So one person employing 30,000, that's a huge chunk of local. Now, there's other cities that are nearby that I get some, but a huge amount of those people are are from Murfreesboro. So
For Murfreesboroans, or what's Murfreesboroans? How do you say it?
that one, good
Oh,
luck. Okay. I have not figured that out, and I've not heard anybody have a nickname like to call people who live in Murfreesboro because it's just too hard. Like what Murfreesboroans, like Murphy's bite, right? No, see, I don't even know.
Murphians, I guess. Murphians.
Murphians. That just sounds so weird.
But okay,
sounds
so
like people who like worship the Murphy's Law. They're Murphians and they worship Murphy's Law.
oh my gosh. Okay, so you got a lot of cars or manufacturers, Oracle, like just good high paying jobs. What about like local kind of like smaller, or like smaller places, I guess, like
yeah, like non-franchised type of things.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's ever been to Nashville, I mean, and definitely outlying areas, like Tennessee is very hipster. And I mean that in a positive way. Like there's no negative statement there. Hipster, when I say hipster, I'm talking about they just do their own thing. They got their own style, that they got their own, they're not trying to necessarily be commercial in the way that present it. So you've got, I mean, I think Murfreesboro probably has like 30 or 40 coffee shops. Some of them are franchised, but there's a ton of like small mom and pop coffee shops that are still open that I'm baffled by. But I mean, everybody loves coffee for the most part. Like most people love coffee. And like that's like a culture thing here. It's like these very hipster type of coffee shops with their own unique feel and vibe. So you got stuff like that. There's still record stores here. I literally, because I'm a huge fan of tea, in downtown Murfreesboro, there is a tea shop stuffed to the ceilings with tea, like thousands of types of tea. They actually do tea tasting.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the woman who owns it, her father actually grows green tea back in China.
Oh wow.
So it's like I think it's China. Pretty sure it's China. And so like it's like those places exist. And to be honest, like this isn't little Tokyo or little Saigon in LA. So you wouldn't have thought without a huge population to support a business like that, how on earth would it stay open? But it's been around for quite a while. And I think that's awesome. I love going there and supporting them. We've got some Tennessee only franchises as well. Here, restaurants and, other types of places like here that I think are pretty neat. And so we've got I think we've got a pretty good selection of local mom and pop owned to franchise, super commercial, and of course you can't forget about Chick-fil-A on every corner.
Let's go Chick-fil-A. Yes, I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan. The fries are my favorite there. Chick-fil-A is big in the South, like
huge in the South.
So yeah,
I mean, it is a way of life here.
That's awesome. I'm all for it. And if you don't like the Chick-fil-A sandwiches, I'm sorry for you. But no.
Yeah, don't come to Tennessee. Just kidding. Come here anyway.
Yeah. Come visit. Costco, Sam's Club. What about
Absolutely. That? Huge Costco fan. Like, Come on now. I mean, are the people that aren't? In Murfreesboro, we actually have a Costco that opened up. Man, has it already been a year? I can't remember if it's been a year or if it was this year. So it's either been like 5 months or a year that it's been like open for. So something like that. So we've got a Costco here, full-size Costco. I don't even know if there's like not full-size Costcos. I'm just saying that because
they build them big now. They're like, they don't build them small anymore.
Yeah, because I know Walmart has like Walmart neighborhood.
Yep.
And those are smaller versions of Walmart. So I don't know if Costco does that. So it's a full-size Walmart or Costco with the gas station.
The gas station, yeah.
The car wash,
yeah.
All of that. Yeah. There is a Sam's Club, full-size Sam's Club with the gas station as well. So we definitely have those. Like I mean, there's really not anything that, I think the one thing we don't have here is Korean barbecue.
Oh, interesting.
We have it in Nashville.
Okay, so you just have to drive a little bit.
Yeah, but we do not have, but we've got ramen, pho, I'm trying to think of things people wouldn't think were in the South. We absolutely have. There's a great place called Sabadi Cafe, which is Laotian. I mean, we've got some great food here. And coming from LA,
Mm.
like K-Town and Little Tokyo and Little Saigon and just all the variety of food, it was really awesome to find some gems like this in Murfreesboro. Because I thought for sure if there were any in Tennessee, it would have to be downtown Nashville. So to find them here in Murfreesboro, definitely was happy with that.
Mm. That's good. Yeah, I would be pleasantly surprised as well, because I just wouldn't expect maybe certain, yeah, especially more some types of food where you're like, oh, it might just, or if you do find it, you're like, it's not that good, type of a
Yeah.
thing, which is tends to kind of be, yeah, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, which makes sense. Let's move into like more things to do. So around the area, Murfreesboro and surrounding areas. So yeah, I know Nashville is kind of like a very obvious spot.
Yeah, we'll try and like focus on some of the non-cliche Nashville stuff first. We'll avoid that and then we can come back to it kind of thing.
Cool.
So like more specific to Murfreesboro, if you have families, a great place to go is the Discovery Center here. It's all science and exploration based. They have indoor and outdoor activities. They have lots of programs during school and during the summer. And there are lots of really neat, fun programs. And they'll have even live animals like a whole turtle exhibit. And so, really cool place to go, especially if families, and very inexpensive to have a membership
Hmm.
as well. And so, I mean, that alone is a really cool place to be if you've got kids or if you're just a big kid slash adult. And so I definitely like that. We've got, and it sounds silly, but we've got a lot of like antiques and thrift stores that are really fun to check out. And you can kind of find some hidden gems amongst those. There is actually my church. My church does worship nights, but we do them public. And like, I think our last one had 6,000 people there.
Wow.
And like, sometimes we shut down the whole, it's called the Square, downtown Murfreesboro, and it's literally a square. Sometimes we'll shut down that whole thing and fill it with people. And that's cool because it's like, regardless of what you believe or whatever, it's really awesome to see the community come out and just enjoy music and food and just have a great time together. And that happens consistently. So that's why I bring it up. Like if it was a one-time thing, I'd be like, that's not a really good aspect of like, or a good idea of like what consistently happens, but it happens consistently. So that's really awesome. Movie nights happen. We had like I forgot, it was like a kids movie night out on big grassy field near some of the higher end business areas. We have a malls, movie theater, Costco, because anybody who's an adult knows Costco's fun.
It's an
Costco
adventure.
is fun. I
Yeah.
love to go to Costco, man. Until I check out and then I'm crying.
Sounds about right.
I'm just gonna get one thing, and then you walk out and you're like, how did I spend $250?
Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah, you can't go into Costco spending less than at least $100. It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
But there's lots of cool stuff. We have a lot of trails here. For those who like history, we have a ton of Civil War history here, to where you could actually walk some of the battlements that happened, and see some, literally walk through history, which is really awesome. For those who like to shoot, there's gun ranges. There's like 5 gun ranges here. Trying to think, there's so much to do. I'm trying to think of anything unusual or anything I haven't thought of. Like usually around winter time, some ice rinks will pop up, which is super cool.
Do you guys get snow, right? No?
Hit or miss. Usually we'll get some. So like we'll get a good amount, and it'll be fun to play in, make some snowmen, right? But then like sometimes we can get hit really hard, and so it's like it's hit or miss the severity. But yeah, I would say most winters And when I say winter, I mean that could be between October and March. I'm not even kidding. It could be like, oh, it's still warm in December, and then all of a sudden February hits and you get hit with an ice storm. It's like when I say winter, it's like any time and any length between like October and March is when you'll start to see, and maybe even November, you could say. So between those, but yes, we do get snow, and people have a blast in the snow. I mean, you'll see snowmen in every single yard because for us, like it's just enough to make a snowman, and it's not consistent enough to be not special. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
Hopefully
Got
that
it.
kind of answers your question. There's
Yeah,
more
yeah,
to do too, by the way. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that does. And I know you guys are close to there's like a lot of national parks in Tennessee. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And waterfalls, lakes, rivers. There's a couple really beautiful. There's Percy Jackson. Wait, am I saying Percy? No. Percy Jackson is that author.
I'm not. It
Uh
sounds familiar, but I don't know. Yeah.
I can't even remember the name of his books. Anybody listening, you know what I mean? You're gonna be laughing. Wow. Now I gotta hold on. I
Yeah,
gotta get
yeah.
the name right.
No, yeah, grab it, grab
Percy Jackson and the Olympians is the name of the. I can't believe I was saying that.
it.
Percy Warner Park. That's a big one. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Percy Warner Park is a big one in Nashville. And so there's a bunch of there's Warner and Percy parks, and there's multiple, and they're all kind of like associated with each other. I've been to probably all of them. Like I said, lots of lakes, lots of trails. I think there's a water park around here. I'm pretty sure Nashville has like a hybrid water park thing too, but honestly, don't quote me on that. I burn in the sun really easily, so going out. Yeah.
All good, all good. Yeah, there's it sounds like yeah, there's quite a bit to do. We'll have to eventually. You guys can check out the channel. We'll have like more things, shorter videos on things to do around the area in depth. But I wanted to talk a little bit more on the healthcare facilities for
Yes.
around the area. So like for major hospitals, where do you guys typically go, or where's like the
Yeah.
spots?
So like I feel like that falls in line with academics as well, like healthcare academics. So like we have some amazing colleges and schools. For the music side, there's Belmont, which is a very well-known, reputable school, mainly focused around music, but definitely has other wonderful courses. Vanderbilt is one of the top schools in the nation for science and medical field. I mean, there's some pretty amazing things that come out of Vanderbilt. Um, and then because you have such amazing things going on at Vanderbilt, you get the hospitals, Vanderbilt Hospital, Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. So you've got we have St. Thomas near us. So we have wonderful hospitals, childcare, pediatrician offices. We have like it's kind of crazy because I feel like we have so much medical access here. We also have some really great state programs too, which are a wonderful asset to have. It's called 10 Care. So there is no short supply I guess there's always a short supply of medical, but we have more than most for hospitals and clinics, urgent cares. I mean, shoot, there's so many urgent cares here that you're probably never more than like 10 minutes away from an urgent care, which is
Mm,
really awesome because it's urgent care, which means
yeah,
it's urgent. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So like it's pretty cool. Like even for us, we lived on one side of the town, like opposite where we live now, and the hospital was like 10 minutes away. Now we live on the opposite side of town, right? And like where we used to live is like 30 minutes from us, but the hospital now is like 15 minutes away.
Hmm.
But then we also have like a pediatrician clinic, and then we have urgent care, and then we have other medical offices, dentists, like chiropractic, like everything you could imagine, like we are set. And I can't think of anything we're lacking
Hmm.
in that area other than just more people to work,
Hmm.
right? Because there's always a shortage of nurses and um,
Yes.
tons and tons of other people in the medical field.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I think that's kind of like just life, or it's been
Yeah.
kind of more pronounced as going through kind of the full spectrum of COVID and stuff. But so you mentioned some really great colleges, and let's talk a little more depth about schools. So, primary care, high school, primary care, primary education,
Okay. It's okay.
primary education, high school, and all that good stuff.
We do have great assisted living communities here too. So
Oh,
I think in the state of Tennessee, are maybe it's in just, I think it's actually just in Middle Tennessee. We have like 48 assisted living, which is really impressive. But yeah, going back to, the different types of schools. So there's a lot of elementary schools here, middle school, private schools, of course, high schools. Some of the more popular ones to anybody who's moving is Blackman, Stewart's Creek, and there's the newer school, Rockvale. Almost all of them will have an elementary, middle, and high school. I believe Stewart's Creek does not have an elementary. Don't quote me on that because we have a lot of schools. I think Stewart's Creek has a middle and a high school. Just down the street from me, we have Scales, which is a really great science and math programs, elementary school. We've got some really, really good schools here, which again, you don't think about when you think of the South. You just don't like the stereotypes, right? You don't think of it that way. And honestly, in some of the smaller towns that are underdeveloped, yeah, they don't have high paying jobs. They don't have super great schools. But what's nice is that for the most part, like there's a lot of Tennessee is still open land.
hmm.
So where the population is, it's pretty close to each other to where if you need to for private schools or getting rezoned or things like that, like our schools they're full. But then like we opened up Rockvale and we're building more schools and more opportunities. And there's some really great schools here,
Nice.
private and public.
Private and public. Do you guys have charter school system in Tennessee? I'm not even sure.
I wouldn't, to be honest, I don't really know the difference of the different titles of the schools. That is not something so I don't want to give you just an answer to make myself sound like
You're good. You're good.
I know everything. I don't.
Yeah. No, no, no. All good. Just curious. Um, Sweet. And then do you have any um children in schools and stuff?
So we actually homeschool. I have a daughter and then I have a son due in the next few weeks. Yeah, so we homeschool. And actually, surprisingly, there's I know quite a few people who homeschool here, and I love seeing that balance because it's good for the public school system to have less people in because most schools are overpopulated, and so it's really good to see some homeschooling going on, some public schooling, private schooling, and people being able to find whatever they need. There's even really awesome like support groups. There's even, if you don't want to do full homeschooling, I think they call it like work from home or learn from home. Sorry, learn from home or something like that, where like they still are part of a public school. They just don't attend in person. So there's a lot of really good options for people, so whatever their needs are, there's a good chance they'll find it here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, options is good. Especially for schooling. Oh my gosh. Okay. So for Murfreesboro, like what are some things that you maybe don't like about the area? Or I should say maybe
You
you
can say
wish,
don't like. No,
yeah,
no, you can say don't like. Like
don't like.
people,
Yeah. Don't like or wish that you can
I
change.
know, and it's like everybody's always worried. Like that's why I didn't shy away from saying there's tornadoes. Man, there's
Mm.
tornadoes. I'm not going to lie to you. There's tornadoes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like every state has some sort of natural hazard or issue or problem, and if they don't, then they have their own issues that other states might not have. So I'm not someone who's going to try and pretend that like everything's perfect all the time. No. So some things about Murfreesboro. Now this goes with all governments, because all governments are too slow and too reactive instead of proactive. So traffic's not great, man, and it's only going to get worse. That's just the truth.
Hmm.
I doubt the government will do anything to fix it, because they didn't in LA, they didn't in every other booming town.
It's like on the
Nobody's
back.
really ever fixed it.
It's always on the back burner. Like we'll fix it later.
Yeah, and
Um,
so it does suck. But I also like, it is something that's annoying here, but at the same time I'm like where are you going to go where it's not? And you'd have to go live out in some rural town, which you can here in Tennessee, but chances are you're going to want the amenities of the city. So part of me is like, is it even fair to call that as a con when it's a problem everywhere? I don't know, but I also don't want to be that guy, because if you go into a Facebook group right now from Murfreesboro, people are going to complain about traffic. Now, honestly, I think that's nearsighted, because I think that's just a little silly. Because if they move into any other town that has a similar population, they're going to run into the same problem. Now, something that's unique to Murfreesboro that definitely I would say people aren't a fan of is we have a very sizable dump here.
hmm.
Huge. It's a
Right.
very big dump. It generates revenue. Don't quote me on that, because I am not a politician, but I'm pretty sure it generates revenue for the city. But it's a double-edged sword, because it's this giant eyesore. Now, most of Murfreesboro won't see it.
Hmm.
But if you're close to the dump and it's a bunch of smelly trash, what do you think you're going to smell?
Yeah. Or
Right?
you hear like the trucks working all day, kind of a thing. Like
Yeah,
if you're
I think you'd have to live really close to hear the
closer.
trucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll be honest, right? Like if you live close to the dump, you're gonna smell things. It's the truth.
Yeah.
But let me preface that just to make it clear. I had a client moving here who was they're an Amazon executive, in fact, moving here, and they found a beautiful home, and it was in a great location. And then they looked it up, because everybody's perception is different. I'll make that abundantly clear. And they said, well, this neighborhood's so beautiful and nice. We want to buy this house. But a couple people in a Facebook group said it smells too close to dump. So I'm very proactive about this stuff. So what I did is, instead of going on Facebook and asking people, I went to the people who live there. I door knocked. I just went to their door and I said, hey, listen, I'm Robert, on our home team at EXP Realty. And I've got clients looking to live literally on the street you're on. And I didn't even say the dump. I wanted to first not push them, because if you say something negative, people will immediately latch onto that. So I didn't want to steer the conversation. I said, what are some things you love and some things you hate about this community? Most people did not say the dump right away.
Hmm.
Most people said normal things that everybody says in their neighborhood. Oh, well, some of the neighbors' kids are loud, or, like stuff like that. Then most of the people who said a dump, I made sure to follow up with this question. I said, okay, that's really helpful. Knowing what you know about the dump right now, would you still bought the home that you're in? Every single one of them said, yes, we love it here. We love this community. We love this city. I'm not kidding. Every single one, right? Like, my clients would have bought somewhere else. So I wasn't desperate. I didn't need them to buy a home here. I would have found them another one. Like, that's not an issue. That's my job, right? So it doesn't
Yeah.
bother me. So I just wanted to have an honest answer, because I didn't want to ever risk misleading my clients
Yeah.
into me trying to push them to buy a home so I can close a deal,
Hmm.
versus them having to live with something they're not happy with. And to be clear, like, even when I ask people, they're like, well, if we do smell something, it's usually like at 10 o'clock at night or like 5 a.m. in the morning. So I'm like, okay, well, 90% of people aren't going to be outside at those times, and it's not like you smell anything inside. And so the reason why I'm spending time on this is it is a unique thing about Murfreesboro, but
Yeah.
literally the people here, even the ones who complain, are still here. And when I've talked to them personally and asked them on behalf of clients to get honest feedback, every single one of them said, I would still choose to live where I live. I would still choose to do what I do. And here's a good thing too, for people to know who's listening and like, oh, that's weird. We are actively, our government, but also the citizens here of the city, are actively working on solutions to improve this and to do more. It is a consistent and constant thing. So that means it's not being swept under the rug. And that's a good sign. Every city has problems.
Yep.
Some cities, the citizens don't do anything about it but complain on Facebook, and the government just sweeps it under the rug. That's not happening here.
Hmm.
It is out there. People know, and we're trying to do something about it. And I would rather be around people like that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah, being proactive about it. That's good. I love that question that you asked. The follow up is like, would you still buy this house again? Like, because that says so much. Like, if you would, repurchase something, knowing what you know, that means, yeah, it's worth living in. Like that, to redo the whole kind of scenario in your mind. So, and that is very unique for Murfreesboro. Like that, there's a city dump, and like it's just kind of a part of, it's there.
You'd have to drive right by it ever to see it. And again, you'd have to be outside near enough during 10 or 5 a.m., like right around that time frame to smell anything. So, like, I would argue, not that there's any way for me to verify this, so I'm being humble about that, but I would argue that 70% of people in Murfreesboro have never experienced any negative side effects from a smell or even seeing it. Like, quite honestly, like, I severely doubt it. It's usually the people who live close or the people who happen to be outside near it during those times, which probably live close. And of course, those are the people who are going to feel the impact the most. So
Mhm.
it's understandable that they don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. So you said you went door knocking, and how is that? Are people like, do they open the door? I mean, because I've been door knocking in parts of LA, and people don't open their door, or they'll pretend like they're not home.
I
Uh,
wouldn't open my door in LA. Heck no. Freaking LA, man. That's a whole different ball game. Yeah, I would say in Murfreesboro, most people, unless they're from California or New York or Chicago, probably would open their door and talk to you. I mean, it's door knocking. It's intrusive. I don't care what anybody says. It's intrusive. I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but I had no other way to get an answer,
hmm
right? I mean, shoot, there's not even really phone books anymore that I can just go grab. And so, like, that's what I felt I needed to do for my clients, and I did. And everybody was very nice and receptive.
Hmm.
Cautious,
Sure,
cautious,
sure.
but nice. Like it was. There's funny stories. So in one of the houses, they had a big open glass pane on their front door. So I go and I ring the doorbell, and then I see in the distance a kid sitting at a counter, like probably like 10 years old, butt naked, eating his cereal, just like
Living life,
staring at me,
living his best life.
living his best life. And like it was really funny, right? Like that's what it was. And then the woman came out and she was super nice and sweet. And she was apologizing. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about him." I'm like, "I'm the one knocking on your door, bothering you. I'm sorry to be weird, but you're the exact person I need to talk to because you live right here. If there
Yes.
was someone else that I could ask so I didn't have to bother you, I would have."
Yeah. No. Yeah, you just need
Yeah.
that
So I,
honest.
I would say for sure. I would say the two types of people who might be unfriendly, people who bring their big city mindsets from states, and I'm not even judging them. Listen, it's a different, more cutthroat life in LA. I'm not saying people are worse or anything like that. Who can judge that? But you have to fight in LA. You have to fight to get into the lane you want to get into. You have to fight to get to your gas station. It's a fight. I lived there for a long time. So I know it's a fight in New York. It's a fight in Chicago. They bring that here, but they don't need to.
Hmm.
So the threats, if you will, that they had, or the competition they had, it's not the same. And so I think that's a big one. And then the second type of people is people who don't like change. And I'm gonna just say it. It's the hypocrites.
Hmm.
The people who go, "We have too many people here in Murfreesboro or in Tennessee." And I go, "Really? How'd you get here?" And I bet the people who were here before you looked at you and said, "We
Same
have
thing.
too many people here." And to be honest, I don't like that mindset.
Hmm.
I've seen it everywhere. Ask anybody in LA if we have too many people in LA.
Oh yeah. I remember being in junior high, and a teacher saying, we have too many people. You guys cannot, like, if people want to leave, they can leave California. And I just remember being like, oh, it's interesting. Kind of
Yeah.
making a note of it, but just kind of, it is interesting. Everyone, they want, they like people, but just not maybe too many people around them. So in a certain sense of, I don't know, just like not in my backyard kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's so hypocritical the way that people are. And this is all people, like everywhere. It's not exclusive to here. That's what I'm saying. Like it's the same mindsets you find in any city. But I think, the stereotypes of people being welcoming in the South is true. I think it holds up for the most part. I think people are more friendly and inviting here. Everybody's going to ask you to go to church. Um, it's okay. I want you to know it's okay if you don't go to church here, by the way. It's not that someone's like, it's like inviting someone over for dinner. You invite them to church.
hmm.
Like it's just a natural cultural thing. And we have great churches here that do a lot of charity, a lot of giving. We have great charities here. I think it's a very welcoming place to be. And honestly, I love the state, and I love Murfreesboro and all Middle Tennessee and everything like that. And it's a wonderful place to be.
Hmm. That's so good. I see why people are moving there. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions for Robert, go ahead and hit him up. His information will be up top and down below. And yeah, Robert, this is so good to talk about Tennessee. I really appreciate you dropping that knowledge for us.
Dude, thanks for doing segments like this so more people can learn about different places and all of that. I absolutely love it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's the goal. We want people to see that there's a lot of different places that may fit for you in this slight or this like part of your life in terms of where you're at. So and there's a lot of places. So it's the United States is a big place. So
Heck yeah, man.
yeah.